Welcome, everyone. This is the February meeting of the Colorado Springs Astronomical Society. My name is Scott Donnell. I'm the president. And with us in the room are officers and a trustee. I'll start with Tom DeClue, our treasurer. Here. Vicki Kitzman, our member at large. Floyd Glick, our secretary. Matt Russell, our trustee. And we have some other individuals, Bruce Hookout and Hal Bidlack, that are director and co-director for RNSS. Al Shalafi, that heads up the Starry Meadows Development Committee. And looking, I think I've covered bases. And then Jason Furman, who's our IT guy, running the AV, running the camera. We were actually here for quite a while before this to make sure it works. So first thing we like to do at every meeting is just get a show of hands to see who's either a new member or visitor yes. New member, visitor? Visitor. Okay, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Joe President. And suggestion of my next door neighbor who is a member of your board said
that's the same company. Very good. We have our guest speaker, Robert Sally. Is that Sally or Salee? Yeah, Salee. With us this evening, and he'll be giving a talk on the Pikes Peak Observatory project in about an hour's time. So thank you for coming and thank you for being here. We'll look forward to your talk. Anyone else that's here visiting? Yeah. Visitor. Well, yes. Andrew. Let me guess. Your name is Andrew. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Over here. It would be interesting to come and partake. So I thought I would come and see it as well.
Well, thank you very much. Glad you could make it. So, did you find it? It's under. Perfect. Okay, very good. All right. Let's. We've got a few things in our agenda. The next thing we typically do is we do a what's up in the night sky. Before I go further, Floyd, do we have an attendance list circulating?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, very good. Keep that going. We're going to have an election for a new vice president this evening, and before we can do that, we have to get that attendance list completely filled out back to our secretary so you can verify if we have a quorum. So, Eric, I thought you weren't going to make it tonight.
Thank you.
Eric, good to see you. Hey, okay, Eric, are you going to be introducing our speaker tonight? Okay, good. We'll tag up during the break, and I'll brief you. Okay. So with that, Dave Warner.
Right here.
There you are. Would you please do your what's up in the night sky, please?
Okay, real quick tonight, because we've got a lot of stuff to cover, so I don't have slides like I normally do. But I'm sorry.
There's a camera.
Oh, yeah. Okay. My name's Dave Warner. I do the What's Up segment for each of our monthly events. This month, there isn't a whole lot in our What's Up in the Sky for March, but we do have one event, and that is Jupiter is going to be at opposition on March 8th. And what that means is that at midnight, Jupiter will be at its highest point in the sky. It's also at its brightest at negative 2.5 in the constellation of Leo. At the same time that the sun is at its lower point below the horizon. And it's about 36 light minutes away from us in terms of how far it takes for light to travel. So to translate that into Star Trek terms, it's about a 2-hour flight at full impulse power. So it gives you that kind of perspective of just how far away it is in our universe. So along with that, a lot of stuff that's going on with Jupiter is there's a ton of different double shadow transits. That's if you're observing Jupiter, which is at its closest to us right now, since it will be at opposition. It's a great time to observe it, great time to image it if you have imaging capabilities. But these double transits is when one of those 4 Galilean moons is crossing over, and a double transit is when you have 2 of them crossing over in front of the disk at the same time. So there's throughout the month of March, there's about a half a dozen of them. I'm not going to go over the list on all the different days. You can look it up in different, what's up locations. I might post it on the website. But where I got it out of is, and where I'm going to refer to is my Observer's Handbook that I got in the mail a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't bought one of these before. They're made by the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. They're on sale on the Astronomical League's website until they're sold out. And usually after the first month or two of 2000, whatever year it is, they sell out. So they're about $26, $30 or therefore, and they have a lot more information than just what's up in the different months, but details about lunar eclipses and solar eclipses and all sorts of other really cool, neat information. So if you get a chance, check one of these out because they're good to have. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. All right, next is observing reports. Kind of don't, given the weather situation, not expecting a lot, but
Unfortunately, I got out on the 16th and not only observed, but got to take some really good images of the Flame Nebula. And about a week or two before that, I got some mediocre, but some images of Comet Catalina. So a couple of things that worked out.
excellent. Okay.
Our first star party floor set was great, amazing scene. M1 was obvious in the eyepiece, which is kind of rare. So there's more coming up. Continue.
We did Fountain Creek Nature Center as well, which was really successful. And they want to have us back again.
He's got a separate list for outreach.
Activities is next on.
Oh, I thought that we were.
No, no.
We were observing and it was
Observing.
awesome.
Okay.
I went up to Palmer Park and went up to the Overlook parking area, and they opened the park like 5 in the morning. I got to see all the 5 planets. And, it's a good place to go.
Very good. All right. Does anyone else, anything that's been out observing, binoculars, telescope, naked eye?
I can just confirm Jupiter is, it's just rising in the east, right at sunset, and it's extremely bright. It's a very nice, object for orienteering purposes. Oh, there it is. It's the brightest thing in the sky. If it's not the moon, it's Jupiter right now.
So if you're going east, you're in good shape.
And if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're trying to walk a straight line through the forest, looking for your dog.
Hypothetically
Okay. Anyone else?
Bob's got something.
Bob.
A few weeks ago, I was messing with some of the data that I had taken back at September skies, and ended up with a image of Andromeda.
gorgeous. Just
Wow.
gorgeous.
There you
I'll tell you what, just to get the full effect.
That's pretty good.
Thumbs up.
All right.
Very good job.
What are the specs, Bob? What did you?
All right, stacks.
go. This was with my Canon 6D on the back of my Vixen 80mm refractor. I was taking 2-minute subs on my EQ45, unguided, but I had a good polar alignment. I was getting about every other or every third image had nice stars in it. And so I stacked 12 2-minute exposures with 10 darks using Deep Sky Stacker, and then pulled some of the contrast out with Lightroom. I can't remember if I went into Photoshop. I kind of doubt it.
Just gorgeous.
Yeah, that's great.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I was surprised when that came up. I was like, whoa!
So just like what Bob did, you feel welcome to bring your any images you may have taken while observing, and we'll show them up here. So
Astronomical.
astronomical.
I know some of this crowd.
Okay. And so before we go into the next topic of outreach, I just want to very quickly put a shout out to Phil Coker right here, who's a lifetime member, and he's also the donor of the observatory that's down in Star Meadows. So, and just it's still in pieces down in Star Meadows. So, in fact, Phil had brought to me some remaining materials and pieces and instruction manuals and things and so on. So I appreciate that. Okay, so let's turn it over to Hal for, as our Director of Outreach for his report on outreach
Can
activities.
we pull up the calendar for the month? The monthly calendar? A couple of different things on outreach. We've got a lot of star parties coming up. I think I fielded 7 or 8 requests in the last week alone. And I'm putting them up, what I'll do is I put them up on the calendar, and then that automatically, I set it to automatically make a thread in the forum. It'd be great for you to sign up if you can come. Just a note, if it says private star party, public star party, outreach, if it says private star party, that doesn't refer to us. It doesn't mean you can't come. It means that it's for a particular organization. Like, for example, Friday night in Woodland Park, we're doing a private star party for Columbine Elementary School up there. Because Leo's old boss, Jeff, was the ranger at Florissant. We worked with his wife, teaches there, has asked us to do an event just from 6:30 to 7. I think at this point we've had a couple people sign up. Be grateful to have more scopes up there as well. So please do look at the schedule. If you have any questions, you can certainly look on the forum for threads. There should be a thread about each event. Or you can just email me, outreach@csas.org, and I'll get that, csastro.org. I'll get that as well. Be happy to get that with you. Just give me a call. We have kind of 2 categories of outreach events coming up in the next few months. There is where we get asked to go to places like the school, or Travis very graciously has again invited us to do the Space Foundation. With the exception of the Space Foundation Symposium, all the other events, unless otherwise noted, will take as many people as want to come. There's a handful of events, and right now it's really only the Space Symposium where we only have room for a certain number of scopes. I'll always indicate that in the forum thread, and I'll recruit people or sign up first come, first serve. If you don't sign up in the forum thread, that doesn't mean you can't come, again, except for that one, to the outreach event on the calendar, but it really helps me if you'll let me know if you're coming. I've had a couple of events where a couple of people have signed up and 7 or 8 scopes have shown up, which has been great, but it will save me some wear and tear and stress if we can go ahead and sign up, because I worry about whether we're going to get folks. In terms of the second group of parties, which is our CSAS parties, Ken Florentino put together a nice schedule. It's in the forum. You'll notice it's not on the calendar yet. We're running through a couple of bumps in the road on permits at the various county parks we use. We want to make sure we do this by the book. Hopefully in the next week or 2, we'll be able to nail that down. The first event is scheduled for March 11th. I hope we'll be able to get it done in time to do that. I'm not going to promise anything, but we're trying to basically work around some roadblocks and sponsors and insurance issues and all that to make sure we can still do these. So if somebody trips over a tripod and breaks their arm, they can't sue, I don't know, Dave Warner.
Dry.
And I can talk to you afterwards, the one on the second video, the first one said, well, you there too. So a number of events coming up. Please keep an eye on the calendar. Please keep an eye on the forum. And I really hope you'll volunteer. If you haven't ever done it before, that's fine. Just come. We'll get you squared away. The Florissant Fossil ones are going wonderful. If you haven't gone to the Florissant Fossil for an event, you owe it to yourself to go. Leo's nodding his head because of the nice people who come out, but equally important, the breathtaking clarity and darkness of the sky out there. I mean, I'm telling you, M1, which I had looked for in my 12 for weeks, was just this bright little cloud in my eyepiece. So you definitely want to owe it to yourself to come out to the fossil events. Anything I'm missing from other Dave or anybody else on outreach?
Sunday's Galaxy Fest was a nice success. Big sci-fi crowd. We didn't have a lot of people out there. I estimated about 30 to 40-ish, but people got to see the sun during the daylight. We're all geeked out in sci-fi outfits at the same time.
Now, in fairness, they see the sun during daylight most every day.
But yeah, through a telescope.
telescope.
Yeah, but it was a very good thing. It's another opportunity to get our visibility for the club out to a larger and larger crowd. And this is the first time that I recall us ever being invited to the Galaxy Fest convention. So.
And along those lines, if you do an event and I'm not there, please note, send me an email, because we're logging where the event was, how many people were there, how many CSAS members, and all that stuff. The more information we get, the better. Just keep track of all the hours. A lot of stuff coming up this summer, spring and summer, heck, winter, spring and summer. So please keep an eye on the calendar. Please keep an eye on the forum and volunteer as much as you possibly can.
And just a quick note, Bruce, you mentioned that this is the first time that we had supported Galaxy Fest. That was at the invite of our gracious host of this facility for our meeting, Space Foundation, and Mr. Travis Shank.
Yes, thank you, Travis.
Basically, we're going to do whatever Space Foundation asks.
Galaxy Fest is excited to have you, and they'd like to invite the Astronomical Society back next year, but maybe with some different night shows and things like that, because the convention goes into the evening. Now, admittedly, some of the geeks have not seen the sun. They've been in front of computers.
That's true. You can tell them by the green veneer.
The pale skin was a giveaway.
Yeah, and I apologize, but if you are interested in coming to Space Symposium, which is in April, but can't make the couple of spots that we're having for stargazing, we're always looking for volunteers. And if you volunteer for a 4-hour shift, you can attend the different sessions of Symposium. So Andy Weir will be there this year. He wrote The Martian, a little movie you can watch, I guess. And then also Bill Nye will be there, and there'll be lots of really cool stuff. And they're also doing a session on, I think we've got like 6 observatories talking about some of the science and telescope stuff that they're doing there as well.
So the off chance any of that is remotely interesting.
I don't know. It's all about the audience.
Okay. Thank you, Hal. Tom, could you please come up and give us, come up here, please, and give us a brief treasures report.
Very brief. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to print this out, but just briefly, the current balance across all our accounts is $9,246. And that's up quite a bit from last month because we did get the RMSS website up and operating, and we're starting to receive income from that. So that's going to make a difference. And this is that time of year when RMSS registrations really start pouring in, and that's, as you know, our main income producer, if you will, here. As far as expenses go, the major expense right now is $100. I'll let George explain what that $100 is for.
$100 is for the CSAS summer picnic, which will be August 20th up at Black Forest Park, same place we had last year.
It's a good venue.
Yep, it's very good. It's very nice.
Yeah, the pavilion.
Yep, so we were together for a full Saturday. We got it from 8 in the morning till 11 at night or something like that. So, yeah.
So notice that our social activities director, George White, is all over that. It's February, and we already have a reservation.
That's only because Tom reminded me the other day. But nevertheless, it's done.
So thank you for that, George. Much appreciated. So at this time, what I'd like to do is turn it over to our trustee, Mr. Matt Russell, who's going to conduct the special election for vice president. Before you jump up, where's that attendance roster?
Yeah, it hasn't made it up there.
Okay, let's go ahead and get that included, and then Floyd as treasurer. They'll have to verify that we have a quorum in attendance. And then we'll do committee reports. What? No, I can't.
Because then we don't have to.
Okay. On that, just load that in. So go to CSAS, Starry Meadows.
Is there a report on the back? That we're in.
You may want to repoint the camera when you get a chance.
Okay. To where?
That's good.
Okay,
Away.
CSAS,
Away?
Starry Meadows plan, and it is, it was this one right here, right? This one,
Yeah.
that one right there.
Yeah.
That one? Yep.
That one.
Okay.
The JPEG focus on. Okay, just have that waiting in the wings.
Thank you.
I spent $10,000 on this one. $10,000. Kind of stupid, though.
Okay, we're almost there. So Matt, maybe while we're waiting for the, for this, see if there's other nominations. Yeah, sure. Okay, so. And then,
not here.
all right. Over to you, Matt.
Well, as a trustee of the Colorado Springs Astronomical Society, it's my duty and my partner Alan Gorski's duty to hold elections. And what we have right now for the vice president position is we do have one individual who has expressed interest in the position. That's Chris Carlton, is that right? Is there any other nominations? Do we have any other nominations for that position? Krista, do you want to say anything, or?
Sure. So
You're unopposed, be careful.
So I'm relatively new to the organization. Just kind of got involved as of last month at the last meeting. So when y'all came up last month and actually said, hey, we have a need for this position, I figured no better way to get involved than to dive right in and submit myself for it. So I'm not an astronomy expert by any means. I've been in the Air Force for about 10 years. Got out, now I'm working for the Air Force as a contractor, but definitely dealt with telescopes in the past, primarily looking at Earth orbiting satellites and whatnot. So familiar from that regard. I'm definitely interested and looking forward to learning more. Went to Florissant this past month. It was awesome, by the way. But hopefully I can be of use to the club and benefit and get some good work done. So thanks.
So you're not doing this under duress, huh?
No. Maybe I don't know what I'm getting into.
Don't tell them. Has everybody filled out the attendance sheet? Okay, Floyd, I need to ask you if we have, our bylaws require a quorum in order to hold a vote.
Some people didn't mark off whether they're a member or not, but,
All right, for the Redmonds, Steve, that's mine. I remember.
okay.
I didn't mark it either.
Floyd,
I'm a member.
Who's not a member? It's probably easier. There you go.
We have a quorum.
All right. Okay, let the record state that we have a quorum. Okay, perfect. I guess we can do a show of hand vote because there is no competing members for the position. So all in favor, raise your hand. Anybody opposed, raise your hand. Okay. Unanimous. Mark that for the record.
Congratulations, Chris. We'll be talking after the meeting. I have a whole laundry list of things I want to assign you. All right. So with that, I want to go into committee reports, and our first committee report will be Rocky Mountain Star Fair. So, Director, Co-Director, please.
For those newer people or people who are unfamiliar with it, Rocky Mountain Star Stare is the Colorado premier star party, mainly because there aren't any other star parties in Colorado of that caliber, which is awesome. We are progressing very well. Registration is open. Last I looked, we had 20 registrants. Was it that many?
Close enough.
Yeah, it's close enough. It could work. We are still looking for volunteers for various small functions. A lot of the bigger stuff has been getting done. Some of the items are specific to when the event is going on. That's when we need you out there on site at Starry Meadows. One of the items is Tom DeClue stood up for the ATM judging, but honestly, one person to do all that is a lot. If we could get 2 more people who would want to step up and help him do the walk around for the ATM judging, please see Tom. He'll get the name to me, but Tom is basically focusing on that. ATM, amateur telescope making.
Thank you. Takes about 2 hours. Is it on Saturday?
Yeah, it's on
Friday.
Really interesting things.
It's 2 hours on Friday.
But these are home built, and a lot of times some of the stuff, the innovation stuff is brilliant. I just love watching it all. Thank you for Dave and George stepping up. Kids events. With those 2 names on it, I don't have to worry. In fact, I'm going to become a kid again because of those 2 people doing it. We do need a confirmed photo judge at some point in time. We've had a couple names being thrown around.
What do you mean photo judge?
Run the photo contest.
Nice.
To run the photo contest?
You didn't see my response on the phone, so.
No, I haven't. I came from work to here. So thank you. Excellent. Thank you. That's makes me feel better about that. Packet stuffing. The weekend prior to the event kicking off, we need just one person who will help coordinate things such as the merchandise coming in, getting all the packet materials together, determining what packet materials go in, things along those lines. It's kind of a burst job for one day and then, hey, we're happy we run away. But we're looking for someone for that. We also need someone to help make our badges. We have a whole badge kit in a item. We can provide all the information, but as we see, we've got, and I keep all the badges that I've ever attended. It goes back for a good history. So we need a badge coordinator also. Generator. We really would like someone to be able to get down, get our generator, run it through an entire maintenance cycle to make sure it's working, and then be present on site during all of our MSS. So at any given point in time where we're having a problem with the generator or we need power, they can respond to it. We also have the interior lighting inside the town hall that we want to make sure someone is coordinating to make sure that's fully going too.
Just what we're talking about with the generator and the maintenance, in a perfect world, someone would go down there, hopefully making a trip anyway, bring the generator back. We're not talking about you taking an engine apart, but taking it to a small motor shop that does this kind of maintenance. The machine it's been there quite a while, hasn't been maintained. Last year, Jim and I put the cord back in 3 times as it came out. So we're looking to get some maintenance done, and then, as Bruce said, at the site, making sure it's up and running and plugged in every day as we need it. That, in theory, could be 2 people.
Yeah.
We'll go down and get it.
Floyd and I will do it.
We go down and get it.
Excellent.
He's operating as my
But I
role
can't be
on
on
it.
site.
Yeah, I know you can't be on site. That's my concern. Are you going to be here this summer?
As long as I don't work out of town.
Well, yeah.
Well, worst case, we'll pick it up from you up here.
Yeah,
we can
we'll get
get down
something
there
done
and
for
get it
that.
here soon and get it cleaned up and.
Wonderful.
And one of the last positions that we're.
So what we'll need is someone to be at our MSS as the generator person.
Hopefully I'll be there.
Oh, sorry, okay.
But-
Oh, great, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
we'll adjust accordingly as we
Right,
get closer. One of the last positions that we're looking at, and we've kind of agreed, with us being the directors, we're everywhere on site with every little tiny issue that's going on, big issues across the board, and especially being the face of new people coming in. We kind of need someone who can focus on the town hall. Someone who knows everything that's going on in the building, who can look at it going, okay, we need to sweep out at this time. We need to rearrange tables for this next talk and things along those lines. It's kind of a facilities manager-like thing, but the idea is you don't sit there at the room by yourself. You get a group of people, hey, everyone, we need help. Let's get it all swept out and so forth that. But someone who can focus on the building so that we're not distracted by worrying about the building all the time. So that would be one that I'd like to look at. Also, a subset of that is someone to help us run registration. Come April and May, I'll have a registration sheet for people to sign up for time in the registration booth so that they can help us, bring in the people to register and sell stuff and all that bit. But at the same time, I'd like someone to be able to focus on the registration booth, what materials we can sell in there, how it should look, and just focus on keeping that as a happy camper zone. It tends to be a very focused area, especially during our surges of getting people in there to actually pick up their registration packets or solve problems or sell them meals and things along those lines. So if you're interested in that, please see me. We'll go from there.
A couple other things just to keep you in the loop on what's going on. Very excited about a couple of things. With Scott's tremendous efforts, we're most of the way to hopefully, not for a promise, but likely having a barbecue truck. A food truck.
He's already said he'll be there.
Yes, okay, yeah, he'll be there. A couple of details to work out.
Whiskey's Barbecue.
Whiskey's Barbecue. And so the plan now is we're still going to have the Wildflower Friday and Saturday catered meals. We'll still have the Saturday morning Boy Scout breakfast. I should say the corrected Boy Scout breakfast, because last year they were a little skimpy, and now the guy in charge has said, no, there's going to be basically multiple dead animal meat and eggs and all kinds of great stuff. So it'll be a great breakfast.
Turkey links.
Turkey links. I am. But the barbecue truck, he's talking about being there hopefully Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe even to Monday. Because remember, Monday is a bonus day. It's the 4th of July. So if you got the email blast today, I'll notice it talked about Scott's great phrase, 30 stellar years and 1 stellar night, extra stellar night. to observe, because you can be there through that Monday and leave on Tuesday if you want to. That's my plan. The other thing is, if you take a look at the merchandise, it's kind of neat because we're doing a couple of things different this year. Because Atomic Glue is a very good idea. We're going to offer 2 different kinds of T-shirts. The standard cotton T-shirt you're all familiar with, but also kind of the high-tech, what do you call them?
Sport tech.
It's the high-tech polyester moisture wicking type
The
shirt.
one that you really do want to wear on a hot or a cold night, and with the logos. And you'll notice, and the other thing is this year, a zippered hoodie, which will be a nice change from the last couple of years. So zippered hoodie.
It's been a few years since we've
The
all.
RMSS logo is up. The actual ongoing RMSS logo is updated. It's actually now the pattern of the actual mountains you see from Starry Meadows. And there's a 30th anniversary logo on the 30th anniversary gear as well. So all those things and more surprises hopefully to come that are all good. We're continuing to work things. And do keep an eye on the forum when we announce our meeting. We forgot to schedule it before we left this last time, but we will. I'll get one on the calendar. We're going to one more monthly, then probably twice a month to get things organized. We really do need your help to pull this off. We anticipate with the lower gas prices, with the wonderful job George is doing on social media. How many followers on Twitter? From like 3 to now?
We are at 399 between the 2 accounts. As of
399 people following the RMSS/CSAS Twitter account.
310 since last week.
310 since last week. So this has just been wonderful work by George. Lower gas prices, great social outreach. I think we have a tendency potentially this year to actually hit our limit of 325.
And keep an eye out in the next issue of Reflector.
We're doing a paid ad for the first time.
First time we've ever done a paid ad. So
And we're a big
hopefully
ad.
boost it.
So hopefully we're going to see if that does us some good.
Let's also mention that Bruce and others are making personal trips to DAS, to the Pueblo group.
And Scott, you're one of the
as well, and to make, personally visit. So last Friday night, Bruce and my wife and I attended the Denver Astronomical Society's meeting. Bruce gave an excellent talk. We had PowerPoint slides to go with it, and I think we're really going full court press on getting the word out.
Yeah, we got a still trip planned for Fort Collins,
Right.
and then a trip down to Pueblo, and
I'm working on Longmont.
okay, you're working
I
on that.
haven't coordinated that yet.
So
Okay,
there's lots of opportunities to volunteer. I think RMSS could be just really awesome this year, especially with that extra day of
it's awesome every year. It just gets more awesome.
Awesome-er. I can call it what's
Can you
called.
tell that we've been working together for a little while?
Hey, what's the weather gonna be like?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Dark nights.
we were willing to
No
take
rain.
on the rain last time.
Okay.
Actually, the reason I can guarantee good weather
Yeah.
is because my wife and I, who attend camp the last few years, we're buying a little travel trailer, so we'll be out of the weather, which means it won't rain and it'll be fine.
Excellent. And you're not gonna buy a new scope, are you?
Not
No.
to buy
Okay.
those.
Okay.
No new scopes.
We're gonna put a moratorium on new
After June
instrumentation
1st,
scopes
If you
starting
buy a scope, don't tell me
now.
Any questions on RMSS?
But Dennis is coming.
Oh, so it'll.
I think
yeah.
we're back to 50-50.
No, when Dennis comes, we get tornadoes and
I
whipping
know.
whirls.
I know.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it. Looking forward to your help.
His tent destroyed
All right. Excellent work, guys. I think our success is going to be superb this year. Next, I would like to ask Al Shalafi to come on up and give a talk or talk to us about the current efforts being made with respect to the Starry Meadows development. So, take it away, Al.
Here's my pointer. Thank you. I put out, and if you didn't get one of these, I have several extras up here. A land improvement survey. We did this about 5 years ago. And this one, I didn't put any ideas on there, so you have to make up your own, whatever you want to do. This is for those of you that don't know, if I didn't say, Starry Meadows. We've done a few of the projects that were listed 5 years ago, and we'd like to get a fresh input. So please fill one of these out, and we have a break coming up.
We do.
If you want to get those up here to the front tables during that break, that'd be great. Can we have that? This is my pointer. At the last CSAS Starry Meadows meeting, CSAS, Starry Meadows, RMSS, and What's for Lunch meeting, we worked on, lost my board. We're should what go, basically. And looking at what's coming up down the road, and you can probably see some of this, but I will point out, for those of you that don't know, this is a Google representation of Starry Meadows, which is near Gardner, Colorado, which is a couple hours south of here. And there's a few of these meadows that have been named Northwest Scope, Local Group Northeast. And the town hall sits right here. This is the main road that comes in and leads to other properties, with a road that comes off and leads into our property. And the things that we sort of talked about, future planning, starting with the offender area, which sits off to the west of our main building. Do we have a picture of that somewhere? That's okay, never mind. And then we've been talking about putting in pads for part-time, or what do we want to say, overnight people. Observers that want to come down, and so you'll have a pad there that you can set your scope up on. And the first pads that we probably would put in would be up in this area here, with options to wire those. One of the other considerations that we talked about is electricity. That's high on the list. And then pros and cons of whether we go rural electric, where you bring in the real electricity, or we might do solar, which would be less expensive up front, but not as convenient. And so these pads would be wired. We have additional pads to go down here in this meadow. And this is all based on what we've seen so far as use goes of the area. So we put a couple pads down here, a couple pads up in here. Not everybody knows, but I'm pretty much a regular down there in the summer, except for maybe full moon weekends, but new moon weekends, and sometimes the weekends before, the weekends after. And so I've got a pretty good idea of what weather's like. If there's going to be one of Dennis's little wind whippers, otherwise known as the dust devil, if they're going to come through, they usually start over in this area and come right through here. When the wind blows, I should say when the wind doesn't blow. When the wind blows, which is almost every day, except for maybe August, middle 15th of August, the wind generally comes out of the southwest, this area, and blows in this direction, or sometimes southerly, or this direction. So this area over in here, this northeast meadow, is probably the nicest spot. Doesn't have the best view, but as far as wind, being out of the wind, it's great. So put a couple of pads there, a couple of pads over here. There is a possibility, and we'll try to orient these. The only house that gives us any light intrusion at all sits up here. And but according to the people that were at RMSS last year, it really wasn't too bad. It's just, there's a light over there.
And
but
the county government has said if it's a problem, it does violate their ordinance, and they will go out and
that is correct. That is correct. Along with these pads, we have Phil's observatory, and that's one of the early things that we want to get done. And that's probably going to go into this area here, and again with options for electricity to come to them. Now, electricity can come from, there's electric run up here north of us. There is an electric line to the south of our property, actually about this property like south again. So if we do rural electricity, it's either going to have to come from there or come from there. Or if we do solar, there's talk of either possibly mounting solar panels on the roof of the Jim West Town Hall. And there's a study that we need to calculate snow load to include the solar panels to see if we can do that. And if we can't do that, then we'll probably use an area down here on this upper end of the southwest meadow for a nice solar array. What else is coming up?
Vault toilet. Vault toilet. Vault toilet.
Right here. This little spot over here, because this is the most popular spot where most of the people gather for observing nowadays. So we put one in right there, and possibly locate right around the main building.
Bunkhouse and kitchenette. Bunkhouse.
Bunkhouse is this green spot right here, just to the south of the town hall, right next near the shed. And then we have Bruce's medicine wheel, which was originally put up here, is going to be moved down into the southwest meadow.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to assess the horizon line because it's a suppressed meadow.
Right.
We may have a tree line, but no horizon line. So that one, we're gonna need to really look at where the best location.
A lot of this
is.
is up for further discussion.
Right. So not discussion right now, but
Yeah,
there will be discussion.
Solar array, that covers it.
Okay.
And then we'll have another meeting coming up in March. And the date of that's to be determined. Watch for news on the forum.
Okay. So two other things. Show them what you're holding in your hand.
Oh, this is the same thing.
It's the same thing, but if for those of you during the break or after the meeting that want to
Review this.
take a look at this, this is basically what we were working with over the weekend. And then Al basically took the stickies that we jammed on there and then turned that into the graphics. So this is kind of like George had printed this out for us. So this is kind of the model that we're working with right now. The only other thing I want to mention is that if you were carefully watching the forum posts today, you would have seen one post by me that is very important. It is the upload into the members, download section of our web page. I created a separate area for Starry Meadows, and there's a document in there that is the draft Starry Meadows master plan. And that is now posted and available to all membership for review and comment. So you've got the master plan. There's more that will be coming. We've got specific projects that are being detailed out. Those will get incorporated as appendices to the master plan as we go along. But you've got this, and then you also have the draft master plan for your review.
And why do we have a master plan?
The reason why we have a master plan is because we want to orchestrate the development of facilities and other items down at the Starry Meadows in a coherent, organized manner, so that going forward, we're not undoing things because we didn't think things through carefully. And it's also if we have a master plan, that provides one of the mechanisms for us to be able to go out and secure funding in the form of donations. Okay, many donating organizations want to see your master plan, and we now have a draft version of it in place, and so we are going down the road of doing development at Starry Meadows. So,
I was just going to ask if this has been posted. Is this in the master plan, or is it going to be posted on the forum?
I will separately post this tomorrow. It is not in the draft master plan itself, so you'll see graphics like this. But this version that has these items on it, I'll post to the members download section. Does everyone know how to get to the members download section? Okay, if you don't, see me during the break, and then also just by way of comment at the end of the meeting, if there's anyone here that's been having any problems with logging into the CSAS website, getting to the member downloads, please stick around and come up here afterwards. Is there anything else, Al? Okay, any questions about Starry Meadows? All right, then we just have two more brief reports, and then we'll take our break. So the Astrophotography Special Interest Group, there you go, Brian.
We have, we meet 1 week after our meeting here, so always the Tuesday following this meeting is when we meet. If you would like to know where, please either give me your email address and I'll make sure you're on that system that's lined up, or email me directly, ColoradoLight, LIGHT.com. our last meeting, we had, actually, I think it was worked out pretty well. We've been trying to cover a number of topics that were presented at the Advanced Imaging Institute last fall in San Jose. And there's a huge wealth of information. And we specifically covered information about how do you not just take the photos, but developing the photos, increasing the saturation of the colors of the photos without destroying or adding color noise or other things that would make it less valuable. In other words, how do you make a really good picture from what you have? So that was really good. This next meeting is more along the lines of DSLR photography. Some of the special things that are geared if you don't have a CCD camera, which most of us don't. What are the unique things that would allow you to be really successful, or what are several techniques that would allow you to be really successful in using that? The whole idea is wherever you're at in developing or taking your photos, whether you're a very beginner, we have those that have not shot, haven't taken one photo but want to, and we have those that actually in our club that are world class. Matt Russell probably would be a world-class astrophotographer. If you get a chance to talk to him, it's well worth it. But anyway, we have a good time doing that. We meet at 6:30 on the Tuesday following this. If you have any questions, please contact me. If you'd like to come, I'll make sure you get my email so I can forward you the information about the contact and where that's taking place. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Last is I'm going to point to Jason Furman just for any updates with respect to web and IT. So.
Okay, well, I did hear recently that we had a number of reports. People were having trouble. They could get into the system, but they weren't getting the right access to member areas. I did make a kind of a sweeping change to try to fix that. So if you're one of those people, please try again. And if you still don't have access, you're having more trouble, you can contact me at webmaster@csastro.org or just tap me on the shoulder and we'll try to fix it. And one other issue that is potentially being come to light, and that had to do with actually, you know what? I'll talk about that another time. Sorry.
Okay. So the only other thing I wanted to mention was that sitting right behind you, Stephen Poligo, will be taking over soon. There'll be a transition period. And assuming the CSAS webmaster duties. This guy is very good, and you're going to find, well, not that Jason's not good.
I was only intended to be temporary anyway.
Basically, Cindy is sort of like is kind of retired from being our webmaster. Jason had picked it up on a temporary basis. It's not totally in the swim lane. He really would like to be more involved in supporting RMSS. Stephen was, I went and talked to Stephen and said, could you just please think about being our webmaster? And he just said, yeah, I'll do it. I said, you can think about it. He goes, no, I'll do it. So thank you very much, Stephen. We greatly appreciate that. So you're clapping. Oh, very good. Okay. All right, so that takes us up to a break. We will reconvene. Watch the clock carefully. 7:35. I'll be hitting the gavel. I want to get everybody seated because I would like our guest presenter, Robert Salih, I pronounce it correctly this time, Robert Salih, to be able to give his presentation on the Pikes Peak Observatory project. There's an article in the paper last, I think it was June, I think. In the Gazette about this, and so Robert's here today to talk to us about that. So let's take a break until 7:35, and then Robert, we'll turn it over to you.
Good job, Bob.
Means a lot for me.
Have you started wrapping? You got to start wrapping frozen bags of corn around the camera to keep that CCD cool.
Really?
You get a lot less noise. Corn works cheaper.
Corn's cheaper.
So then you can eat it afterwards.
I like corn better.
Does your mount have the capability of training PE curves?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because that almost, because you said like every other shot or every other two,
Yeah,
that almost sounds like a PE curve issue.
it could be.
Periodic error.
On the, are you familiar with the outcome line? They've got it looks a lot like a AstroTag. But it's got belt drives.
Was that the mount you had in here last week? Or last month? Yeah, I saw it.
Okay. And it's got belt drives, so probably some of the smaller gears, or is this between the worm gear and the main gear? Well, maybe it's something in the worm gear, right? Is that the periodic?
Well, the periodic error would be the air and the normally it's machinery, machining, and you got to correct
gear?
Huh?
Between which gears?
It's the RA gear. You don't have to worry about the deck gear.
Okay, right.
It's all RA.
Right.
But I was just curious if you could train that out somehow. You might want to, then you're not going to lose as many images. Mine's completely repeatable, and I've trained it out. It's been trained out for. I can go about 10 minutes unguided at 3,200 millimeters. I do because I use an adaptive optics device.
You've got a permanent mount too. I set it up every time.
Well, still the periodic gear is the same.
That's true. Yeah,
because it's a gear, you know.
I do need to, and then it'll remember where that gear is, right?
Yeah, it should remember the position, right, and it should be repeatable.
Okay. So I'll look into that.
Because then you won't lose.
I also wonder if it was if I had the scope been too good a balance.
Maybe you might have.
And you know, it just got to.
Yeah,
but since it was so periodic, it's probably the gear.
You got to learn your worm cycle, how long it takes for it to go around once. There's some free tools. You can use PEM Pro. I think they have like a 60-day download for free. I don't think you can guide with it. PEM Pro. Yeah, and you can literally look right on the graph and you can see where your air is. It's really cool. Something maybe to look into.
I was surprised at the stuff I got.
No, it's good.
That was on a nice bright eye. You can do 2 minutes.
You do any clusters?
I'm just getting started.
N81's really bright. Well, now dust mates aren't. But M51, you probably get a marginal.
I put it in was pretty quick.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, I was at 1,600 ISO. I could have been then you just get more noise.
Oh, yeah.
I think what I just needed, you could probably say in 2 minutes, to just get 30 of them.
I don't know. Well, Orion's kind of fading in the sky, so that's not a good one. But that's a really bright one. You get some really good color out of that.
Did you want to see this closer?
Can we show the Andromeda shot?
Yeah, I'm going to borrow your computer.
Okay, just make sure that if you're live streaming or anything, they need to approve that.
Full frame camera. What's the advantage of the D? Just the full frame?
Yours D.
Oh, you're
all of them end in D.
Oh, okay. 6D. But is that an Astro? That's not the Astro.
No, it's not the Astro.
Oh, so you're able to do it just okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, right. It's very difficult when it's right in the middle like this to get any detail down the close. Very difficult. In the lightroom, you just pull the highlights down. Oh, yeah. Pretty good. I ended up with a fair amount of detail. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sure did. I was just blown away at how small some of these stars are.
So what size, how big a file is that actually turn out to be? After you stack it and everything, I mean, is it a monstrous size?
Oh, no.
50 meg?
Oh, no, it's just the normal size of, because it's all the frames just stacked together. So it's just the normal.
Or something like that.
In a JPEG, it's probably just 4 megabytes. Yeah. It's only 3,000 by 2,000 because I did have to zoom in on the on the frame.
What school?
1600.
Ready? I don't have the paper with me. Actually, I think I can just write them down now.
Oh, yeah. Let's get to it later. Go ahead and write down. So,
I did 10 dark frames.
That's what this guy right here.
S-A-L-L-E-E-2-L.
This is Jason. Mine's right there. That camera, yeah.
Heights.
Observatory. This is a problem. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I'll do the normal. I'll just like, so tonight we're gonna have Mr. Robert Gazelle do the boxes, the conclusion of
It's a simple. No, it's just an over 40 glass. So out of the 5, 56 megapixels wide, I ended up with 37 after the crime. I don't know a lot. Oh, okay. So it's still a fairly awesome resolution. It was like,
Wow.
No, so I don't. No, this is like maybe the fourth thing I've tried to take a picture of. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I had the same reaction. Like, holy cow! I got a cheat. That's gonna get it.
I really haven't done much here. I'm still trying to figure out polar alignment and that stuff. It's just like, this is a polar series.
It brings up nobody's there to fix
Outrageous. It'd be nice to have. That'd be nice.
1 minute.
Or we can go to the other area. Okay, so hi guys, you know, I guess. What's your notes? Nice. Okay. And I'll do whatever you ask.
Take your seats, please. Eric, ready to go? Okay. All right. Okay, so we've gone through the club business, and now we're going to get to the really interesting part, which is our featured president.
We're not interested?
No, not as interesting as what we're going to hear. So I'd like to turn it over to Eric White to introduce our featured presenter. Eric.
Okay. So tonight we will have Robert Salahi presenting on the Pikes Peak Observatory project.
Well, I'm very honored to be here. I have about 10 copies of the slides if there's somebody that really would like to have a copy over here on the table. And I have about 12 copies of a fact sheet, one-page fact sheet on the Pikes Peak Observatory project. And we have slides. Here we go. I think the slides would be more interesting to look at than me personally, so we'll see if we can make that happen. Here we go. The Pikes Peak Observatory began in 1997, and this was 20 years ago when they were looking at replacing the summit house at the top of Pikes Peak. And Dr. Dimitri Klebe, who's with the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, is the founder of Pikes Peak Observatory. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the history. We started out as Pikes Peak Observatory Incorporated, and then as we got into some R&D efforts that were for-profit, we created the National Space Science and Technology Institute as a parent organization to cover the multiple things we were engaged in. So you see both names associated with Pikes Peak Observatory. What we were looking at that time was putting up a 4-meter infrared telescope on the summit of Pikes Peak. At the time, there were not a whole lot, but things have changed in the 20 years since. As you may be aware, that Summit House project was delayed when the Sierra Club sued. They sued the city successfully and won to stop all construction until the road was paved to the top. The issue with the road was that it was not paved, and so every time there was a heavy snow or heavy rain, gravel would wash over the road, and they would bring up truckloads of gravel to fill it, and that gravel has now pretty much filled the wetlands down below. The road's now been paved, that problem solved, and the Sierra Club is leading an effort to restore the wetlands down below. This, of course, is going to be a multi-year project. If you followed anything in the paper, you know that we have to get approval from the Forest Service, who now owns the summit of Pikes Peak and stewards it on behalf of the nation. So next slide. This is the mission of Pikes Peak Observatory, and we're really focused on informal education, STEM education, and how to make people aware of science and technology, focused on atmospheric science and space. I'm going to refer to my notes just so I don't miss anything that's real important. The Pikes Peak Observatory concept that we have has got three elements. Putting an observatory on the summit of Pikes Peak is one of the elements. The second element is having a ground station in Colorado Springs in a science center where the telescope on Pikes Peak can be remotely commanded. And the third element is a mobile lab geared toward the 8th grade to go out to schools and to public venues, again, equipped with a telescope and capable of remote commanding of the Pikes Peak Observatory. Next slide. So we talked about the history a little bit, and I mentioned that we're going to build a mobile Earth and Space Observatory, or MESO, M-E-S-O, Mobile Earth and Space Observatory. Next slide. There's a lot of reasons why Pikes Peak is attractive to do this. Number one, it's at 14,000 feet. Also, it's the only 14er that has access both by railroad and by road. And unlike Mount Evans, access to the summit is available 12 months out of the year. Although it's closed to the public, they do keep the road and the railroad open so that they can service the Colorado Springs utilities, communication tower, and other facilities that are on the summit. The atmospheric conditions are very good. The humidity is low. Pikes Peak Summit is located in the free troposphere. The nearest 14er is 75 kilometers away. So the air mass in the troposphere as it comes over Pikes Peak is unperturbed by other adjoining mountains, and it makes for a clearer viewing and much less particulate matter that's stirred up into the air. Sustained winds are below 30 knots 79% of the time. Of course, the big attraction to us is the fact that there are 600,000 visitors each year that come to the summit. So the opportunity to present astronomical and climate and environmental research and education from the summit, and to get people excited, and then to bring them to places like the Space Foundation and the Challenger Center and the Colorado Springs Science Center when it's built, would be a win-win for the whole community. Next slide. This is what the summit looks like today. There's multiple facilities. There's a visitor center, as you're aware. There's also a support building. And then there's a high-altitude research lab operated by the U.S. Army. It's not used very many weeks out of the year, but they take soldiers up there and they put them on treadmills and evaluate their performance at 14,000 feet. As the new summit complex is developed, one of the criteria from the Forest Service is that there only be one building. And as a practical matter, they're going to build two buildings. The Army will build their own, but it is going to be adjacent to and connected to the main summit house, which will be built by G.E. Johnson Construction. So it'll appear as one building. And this building will disappear. Next slide. This was the city-approved architect's design in 1998 for the Summit House. It looked like a mountain lodge, and it was designed like this because the Forest Service said that any building you build on forest land has to look like a mountain lodge. The fact that there was no woods above tree line it didn't make any difference. We're a little smarter now about it, but this is the observatory building. It was going to have a full-size classroom and 4-meter telescope that was fully accessible to the public so they could come and actually see the telescope. Next slide. So what's changed? Well, there have been a number of 4-meter infrared telescopes have been installed both on the ground and in space. And the technology of the optics and cameras has improved dramatically, so much smaller physical size of the telescope works. We now can provide remote tasking, and it appears that there's increased flexibility from the Forest Service for the design. And so we're going to look at that a little bit later. The 1 meter telescope, we're looking at putting in a, go ahead.
Got deep.
We're looking at putting a 1 meter telescope in an 18-foot observatory. Now, this is the telescope that we're looking at, and this is a 28-inch. And so this is the 28-inch here, and this is the 1 meter, a 40-inch telescope. It's a plane wave telescope. The mount's the same. It's a 3-foot mount at the bottom. And of course, the main issue with the installation of the telescope is that we have to have the mount isolated from the facility around it so that there's a vibration isolation. The other issue with Pikes Peak is the top of Pikes Peak is a mountain glacier. It's 25 feet of rock and scree held together by fragile permafrost at 31.6 degrees. So when you put a facility that generates heat up there, it impacts the permafrost, it shifts the thing. When they built the Summit House in 1950, it was built with concrete blocks. They were not sensitive to these issues. Within 30 days, the foundation had cracked on the Summit House. So there's an issue of getting to bedrock and an issue of preserving the permafrost. And part of the Forest Service requirement and part of the city's plan is to do the Summit complex to restore the permafrost and the native vegetation and protect the wildlife that actually does exist up there. Next slide. So this is the observatory dome that we're looking at. It's can sustain winds of 130 miles an hour, hurricane force winds. It's a clamshell design that will fold completely down so that people could observe the telescope when the weather's good. And in addition to the 1 meter telescope, we're looking at a 152 millimeter hydrogen alpha solar telescope, which would be, we're looking at putting this mounted on the 1 meter telescope so that you can remotely command either the solar or the optical telescope. But in addition, we'd like to have 2 or 3 of these on carts that we can wheel out during midday and allow visitors to actually observe. And one of the reasons that we're happy to be here is because we'll be looking for docents who would like to come up. We'll pass a sign-up sheet around.
All right, Bob, your job is done.
In addition to the telescopes, we're going to have an all sky infrared visible analyzer. It's 180-degree camera and devices for infrared and visible to look at the atmosphere, to measure moisture and particulate matter. In addition, it can look at smoke. It can help locate forest fires. Weather stations, there are already 2 weather stations operated by the Cog Railway, and communications equipment is operated right now by CSU, but we'll need to have some kind of communications for the remote operation. Next slide. We originally envisioned a platform with the observatory dome in the middle and then a viewing area around so that people could come. We don't know that this is what the design's going to look like, but it's about the size that we would think for a remote overlook that has an observatory on it. Next slide. So if you took this and you put it in the middle of the summit, as it is today, you can see it's about the size of 2 or 3 parking places. It's not a very large facility. Of course, we keep the telescopes at ambient temperature. We don't need heat. Next slide. This is the artist concept of the new approved design for the summit of Pikes Peak. And the Pikes Peak Highway will come up here. I think this is the finish line of the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. There'll be a driveway and angle parking here, and then this will be overflow parking. The regular parking will be paved. This will probably be, compacted gravel or whatever. The summit is, the historic summit is here. I don't know that it's still the highest point, but they'll have a mark for the historic summit. The summit house, as you can see, is going to be mostly below grade. They're going to actually dig down to the bedrock to build the facility. The high altitude research lab is this part, and it will actually be built by the Army Corps of Engineers. This is the support building, and these two buildings will have solar arrays on the roof to generate, I think they're figuring 20% of the energy needs of the facility. This is the summit house. This portion extends above the surface and is enclosed in glass. And as you drive up, you'll be able to see this entrance part. You come into the stairs and go down. On this side is the dining room and the gift shop, and on this side will be what they call interpretive displays. Most of them interactive screens that talk about the past, present, and future of Pikes Peak and connect people to other things going on in Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region that are related. The roof terraces will be flat so people can go up there and view. There's a historic wall from the original summit house here where the train will come. The train is going to be situated now so that it no longer blocks the view. One of the main goals of the advocates for Pikes Peak Summit House is that when people come to the summit, they want them to experience a mountain and not to experience a building. And so the architects have honored that. And they have presented 4 designs early last year and then took public input. But in response to public input, the north part of the peak will all be preserved in close to natural state so that people can view without having to look over a train or through a train. The train used to block that view. What we're looking at for Pikes Peak Observatory is a west overlook. The west overlook, because the winds are mostly westerly, would have the least particulate matter. And another issue for the people that are designing the summit is they don't want the observatory to be seen from Colorado Springs. They want it to be, kind of out of sight. We'd prefer to have it co-located with the summit house so that most people can see it. But the other requirement is that if we put one up there, we aren't allowed to disturb the permafrost. But since the high altitude research facility is located here now, that's already been disturbed. And so the idea is to use an area that's already been disturbed so we're not creating an additional negative impact on the ecology of the mountain. Next slide. This is a top view of the layout. The road will come up and drive around with parking on both sides. There's additional parking here on overflow, which again will not be paved. This is a west overlook, and somewhere in this vicinity we would propose putting the observatory. The summit house is here. This white part is the part that is above grade level. And on the outside of the road is a trail that you can walk around. And then this part of the trail is a perforated steel grid so that rain or snow can get through and it doesn't generate heat down into the ground. It'll be raised up a foot or two above the ground on the supports. Next slide. So our operating concept is that we would want to have the observatory and the things that the observatory is looking at presented in the summit house available for visitors during the day. At night, remote tasking would be possible. And we'll have control facilities in Colorado Springs to provide for the operation of the observatory. We also would have the mobile lab would go out to schools And we can actually train people how to do remote operation and do remote operation from the mobile lab. Next slide. This is an early artist concept of the mobile lab. We were looking at using an RV. This was a 23-foot RV. We've since purchased the van, and we bought a 26, so it's a little bit bigger than this one. We wanted to get an RV van for a couple of reasons. One, we don't want a commercial driver's license required, which we need for a commercial van. Secondly, these vans are front-wheel drive. And so we're going to engineer a roll-off roof and then a drop-down platform. And since it's a front-wheel drive, there's no drive shaft, and we can put a drop-down platform in the center of the vehicle to stabilize the telescope. And you can see we've got a weather station, we've got satellite communications, we've got photovoltaic cells, we got a weather balloon. We're also looking at having a 18 to 24 inch digital globe and a portable planetarium. Next slide.
Sounds perfect for RMSS.
Yeah, I can say. I'm
sorry.
Purpose for bringing to RMSS. What size scope would be of the vehicle?
12 or 14 inch. I think 14 inch is what they're looking at. So we're going to have the telescopes. We have the optical, and we'll have the solar telescopes and the portable planetarium, digital globe, and the weather station. Now, of course, there's 2 weather stations already on the summit operated by the COG Railway, so we've got to negotiate who's going to have the weather station and whatever. But we're looking at upgrading what they have, which is to provide something that's got real scientific benefit and as well as educational benefit. Next slide. We belong to the National Mobile Lab Coalition. This is a coalition of organizations that run mobile labs, most of them to schools. Some of them are sponsored by hospitals that teach biological sciences, or they're associated with universities. As you can see, we're the only member that is in Colorado or any of the states that touch Colorado. Most of them are along the coastline, and most of them are funded through grants from National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We've actually applied for a grant that would help us to select and develop the curriculum and programming for the mobile lab. Next slide. This is just a list of mobile lab coalition members. A lot of them have agricultural, biological things, or electron microscopes. Most of them are going out to school for a day and running kids through 30 minutes at a time and giving them a chance to look through an electronic telescope and giving them a few gee whiz things and then sending them back. We're taking a unique approach. We intend to deploy to school for a week and to have a week-long STEM lab where we go out in advance to the school. We collaborate with the teachers to do multidisciplinary activities around space and environmental science. Get them all prepared for our arrival. We come for a week and we get everybody involved, including the local community, by having a science fair on the weekend where the students take what they did during the week and they present it to the general public. We think this could be a real game changer for technology education and creation of the workforce of the future. Next slide. So we think there are a lot of benefits of having a Pikes Peak Observatory and of having a mobile lab and a ground station in a science center as well, where we can really reach a whole lot of people with science and technology. As I'm sure most of you know, the technology workforce is depleting quickly as the baby boomers are retiring. And if you talk to kids now, when they're 6, they want to be astronauts, and then when they get to high school and you ask them what they want to do, they want to be gamers and they want to do video games. So what we want to do is get into the middle school where the state educational standards are very highly focused on STEM education, especially at the 8th grade in environmental and space science, and then see if we can attract some of those people that have an interest into the technology workforce. Next slide. So we think there are a lot of people who benefit. We have met with the Air Force Academy. They're very interested in having Pikes Peak Observatory part of the Falcon Telescope Network, which is 12, envisioned right now is 12 telescopes. 5 of them are currently operational. They've got one in Peru, one in Australia, and they're going around the world. I think maybe one in Germany. Those are mostly 28-inch. At 40 inches, we would be the largest telescope in Colorado. And it's the same size as the Air Force GEODS telescopes. Next slide. So this is what we're focused on right now. We've written a grant to help us, and we've got a good group of university and science curriculum publishers working with us to develop the program. We did submit like a 50-page description to the environmental assessment phase of the Pikes Peak of what we would like to do. And so now what we have to do is get all the details sorted out for submit a special use permit with the Forest Service, and they have to approve the telescope as a use. What we know is that Pikes Peak has been used for research and for astronomical observing for a long time. Samuel Pierpont Langley, who was one of the I think he was the first CEO of the Smithsonian, and he designed an airplane that nearly beat out the Wright brothers as the first successful airplane. In 1878, he set up an observatory on the summit of Pikes Peak for a week to track the total solar eclipse that came right over Colorado. At the time, there was Dr. Loud at Colorado College who was head of the meteorology department, and the U.S. Signal Corps also operated a weather station on the top. So Dr. Loud was doing a newsletter that went worldwide, providing the weather data collected from the weather station at the summit of Pikes Peak. At the time then of that total eclipse, it took 12 trips with mules to get all the equipment to the summit of Pikes Peak. It was, I think, the 29th of July, and Langley camped up there for the week. And the night before the eclipse, the wind blew snow into his tent 13 inches deep. But it was a sunny day, and it was the main headline. There were special editions of all the newspapers in Colorado on the total solar eclipse. And the result of that was a great migration of scientists to the Pikes Peak region into Colorado. There were people in Greeley and Fort Collins and Denver and all over the Front Range that came to observe this eclipse. And because of this international newsletter put out by Dr. Loud, a great scientific community was born in Colorado Springs. Next slide. So our vision is to get a research observatory integrated into the complex, one that we can do remote tasking from Colorado Springs or from other locations, and create a destination experience to excite and educate all the visitors to Colorado Springs as well as the local population. And I think that's about it. Next slide. So happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Well, the first one that came to mind when I was thinking about this, there's this huge light up there on Pikes Peak where they're going to get a huge switch and be able to turn it off for the observing. Is that going to be a lot of light pollution up there?
I don't know if you remember the history of the light. There was a gentleman that came from Europe and said they lit all their mountaintops in Europe. This was, I don't know, 15 or 20 years ago. And they put up 17 lights on the peak. And all these letters to the editor that people couldn't sleep at night because Pikes Peak was keeping away. There was a lot of public input saying, we like that light at night. We like to be able to see the summit. It looks like a star, but we know where the summit is and we can orient ourselves at night. They haven't made a final decision on what they're going to do, but because the air's thin and there's not a whole lot of particulate matter, it doesn't appear there'll be a great light pollution issue.
We have a greater problem of light pollution from Colorado Springs than we do of a light that's up there that's shielded, that's pointed downward.
Right, but because we're 8,000 feet above the springs, it's not,
Yeah.
we don't think it's gonna be an issue.
Yeah, it should.
Sir?
Since you're observing in the infrared, of course, that also makes a difference, I think, because most of the, I'm not sure how much infrared light comes from light pollution, but, or how much of light pollution is infrared, but being in infrared, is that telescope going to be sensitive enough that you can do astronomical infrared observations in the daytime?
The current telescope is not an infrared telescope. It's optical. It apparently can be used in near infrared. My understanding is that they can observe the planets during the day, but the focus would be using the hydrogen alpha telescope, which focuses on a particular band of hydrogen that makes the prominences and things on the sun quite visible.
So it's not going to be an infrared telescope per se, or it'll be
It's not.
primarily a visible
Yes.
light telescope.
Yes, sir.
I know there's not visitors on top of peak at night, but you're also talking about hydrogen alpha. Will there ever be direct visual viewing to the telescope, or is it all going to be remote?
Well, what we have to do is we have to define the detailed concept and then sell it to the city and to the U.S. Forest Service. Dr. Dimitri Klebe, who founded Pikes Peak Observatory, his whole goal was to have telescopes where people could actually look through the eyepiece. The 1 meter telescope would accommodate that and not have so much distortion that it didn't make sense. And of course, the solar telescopes, we're looking at having 2 or 3 of them on carts that could be wheeled out during the midday, so that in theory, you docents could come up on the morning train, and then from 10 to 2, we'd have solar observing during the zenith of the sun. And then you go back down and not have too long of a day. So the answer is, our desire is to have direct observing through the telescopes. But during the summer, on peak days, there are 7,000 people a day that go to the summit. There are 280 people on each train that goes up. And every train that gets up there is there for 40 minutes. And so they have to do everything they want in 40 minutes. Right now, when you take the train up, you spend the first 20 minutes in line for the restroom. And then you go to the donut shop, buy a donut, and try to buy a postcard or a t-shirt or whatever before you come back down. So we're trying to change that model, and they're going to have more restrooms to see if they can solve that piece.
You guys have website and social media stuff up yet?
We do not have a adequate website on Pikes Peak Observatory. I think if you Google Pikes Peak Observatory, you'll see a website that was created 20 years ago by UCCS and is still in existence. Our National Space Science and Technology Institute, we do have a website, and we have a few things on there, but we're not engaged yet on Pikes Peak Observatory.
What's the timeline for this project to get the scope of it?
They're looking at starting construction a year from now, and we're working with the architect and the construction contractor, who will have to give us the detailed cost estimates for what it's going to take to put this up there before we can put together our request. And our understanding is that once we put together the request of the Forest Service, it could take 2 years or more to get through the approval process. The Forest Service we met with the local and regional reps, and they have informed us that they consider a telescope a new use because there is not currently a telescope permitted on Pikes Peak, and so they forbid all new uses, and they are going to resist as best they can any new use. Their ideal is to put the mountain back to its natural state and have no presence of humans on board. However, the Broadmoor owned the Cog Railway and the summit of Pikes Peak, and
50 years ago, they deeded that to the Forest Service with a contract that listed 13 conditions, including that the train be able to operate and they have their own right of way for the train. That the city maintain a hospitality center for the pleasure of the riders of the train. And the Army has succeeded in retaining their high altitude research facility. So the current uses are going to be retained. There are trails, as you are aware, that come up, the bar trail and another trail that come up, and the hikers are going to have an emergency shelter up there. So we don't know how long it's going to take. It may take 2 years, and it may take congressional waiver of some requirement or direction to the Forest Service before all is said and done. But we're going to follow the process and see where it takes us. Yes, sir.
How's your funding coming from? Government, or are you also looking at corporate sponsorships?
We are looking for private and corporate sponsorships. We're going through government sources for development of the curriculum for the mobile lab. If we buy equipment through the government owns it. And if we buy equipment on a 3-year grant, the government owns it. At the end of 3 years, they can take all the equipment back. So what we're hoping to do is find corporate sponsors or private sponsors.
Considering this is Colorado Springs with a strong military presence, I can at least name Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Lockheed Martin as your top 3 to approach, because they are screaming for the need for STEM. All 3 of those companies are wanting to get more STEM out there, help with the volunteering, help with the sponsorship. So
that challenge we've had, and if you watch the newspaper, the challenge you have is when you go to somebody and say, we'd like a commitment for funding for something that the Forest Service says won't happen. And
you need to overcome that hurdle.
Yes, we're working very hard to do it. And we have the support of the city council and the mayor. We have the support of our congressmen and senators. But we've got a lot of work to do to get the details. We think it's going to cost $1 million for the equipment, and we don't know what it's going to cost to install it up there because nobody knows what it takes to work in the permafrost and whatever. But the estimate is it may be $2 to $3 million to complete the observatory. We also, the advocates for Pikes Peak Summit House is a group that we belong to, and everybody that's got something going on at Pikes Peak is part of it. And there's some people that want to start a Pennies for Pikes Peak campaign and have school children across the country save all their pennies to pay for an observatory on the summit of Pikes Peak. We understand some people are working to do that, but we're not engaged in that directly right now. Yes, sir.
Is there any reason why the solar viewing carts couldn't be set up ahead of time? Like, could we work with them now to start to get that use so that they're used to it? Would that be a problem ahead of time?
We raised that question with the U.S. Forest Service, and they said, no, that's a new use. We said, no, if you get out the federal regs, we've read the federal regs. The federal regs say you only need a permit to do a use that involves 75 people. And we said, we're not talking about 75 new people, we're just talking about people there already. And he said, no, if you put a telescope up, there will be new people. And from our perspective, if there's one person that does it, then it's a new use, and you have to go through the permit process to do it. We said, well, suppose we just drove it up in the trunk of our car, set it up for the day, and then drove it down the end. They say, no, it's a new use, you have to have a permit. They're playing hardball. And I want to know if there's anybody in this organization who's ever driven up to the summit with a telescope and set it up, and then whether you had a permit. I'd sure love to have an example of somebody that has done that.
It's a challenge. Spring challenge. We're going to have a star party on the summit during the day, solar observing.
Well,
Tell us not to.
Well, I can give you the regs. The regs say that any activity that involves 75 people requires a permit. But what the Forest Service said is
74 people.
I'm just setting up my telescope. If somebody just walks up and wants to look through it, well, sorry.
Well, we told City Council that this is not a new use. Optical observing is the original use from the summit.
that Zebulon Pike standing out in front of the courthouse in a statue holding a spyglass, which is a telescope, and they got binoculars that generate $900 worth of income a year for the city, optical observing through those 25-cent.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Just for what it's worth, and I know these guys are thinking the same thing, the reason we now own 35 acres of land down in Gardner, Colorado is because we got fed up with dealing with the Forest Service getting a permit every year to do our Rocky Mountain structure on Forest Service land. They were just becoming almost impossible to work with, and this was 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago.
Is there no way you can cite the guy that observed the solar eclipse?
We have cited that in detail, and the answer we got back was when they say no use, they're talking about no use other than what is currently got a use permit, and there is currently no use permit for a telescope on the summit.
So he didn't get a permit
in
when he did it.
1950. If you look on if you go on the city Pikes Peak website, it says in 1950 the Summit House had a large telescope in the Summit House.
Wow.
But that was before they did the
But they didn't
permits.
have a permit.
There's a legislative fix.
It's going to be a legislative fix probably. That will take longer. Yes, sir.
What could we personally do to help you get this through? And do you think that crowdfunding like Kickstarter or Patreon or something like that could help in raising these funds with people in this room that are interested?
Anybody that's interested in helping can contact me. I'm open to all ideas, help, and suggestions. One of the challenges we have is we've got to enumerate exactly what we're going to do. We've got to say exactly how many hours we're going to operate, exactly who's going to look through this telescope or who's going to see what is presented by the telescope, exactly what hours it's going to be operated. They want detailed operating concepts that we're not prepared to provide. There are observatories on Forest Service land.
How do they know who's going to come up on the railroad right now? How do they predict that?
All they know about the railroad is the number of tickets that are sold. The trains are all full, and
how do they predict it? Day to day, it must be.
So you have 50 years worth of records.
Yeah, the Broadmoor market's pretty well. I think the trains are, when the trains run, the trains are full.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not your pollution factor, right? Use their access.
We did talk to the general manager of the Cog Railway about getting a special activity permit for a special night viewing star party. And
we volunteer.
They said they can't do it because when they run the train, they have a backup crew and a backup train ready in case the train breaks, because they will never put themselves in a position of leaving a customer stranded. So the problem is, if a train breaks at night, number one, they don't want to pay for a crew at night as a backup, and number two, there's not enough light to fix it. And so, plus that is really a new use. So we're not talking about any night thing. Night things are out there.
At night, it'd be an automated, unstaffed facility.
Yes, at night it's the remote operation, and of course the observatory operates remotely, the telescopes operate remotely, the cameras operate remotely, and this has been solved in observatories everywhere, so we're not too worried about that piece. Yes, sir.
I actually have a question that kind of leads into what you just mentioned about non-staff. I had a real life experience having. I have a remote observatory with a 16-inch rate, not a 42 or whatever it is, but it's all set up for remote operation. It opens, it shuts, it does all this stuff. If the weather's bad, it will shut. Fully automated. One time, however, what happened with me is that it got cloudy, and so the dome shut. Well, it told me it shut. 2 days later, I was walking out in my woods, and it was wide open. What do you do in a situation where you have a mechanical failure, a power failure, or I mean, something, the dome won't shut, something, the cord gets wrapped around somewhere and it's binding. I mean, how are you gonna fix that? I mean,
Well-
at night, you know, it's.
Well, this
can't
is,
be up there.
well, we probably won't do it at night, but that's one of the reasons Pikes Peak is so important, because we can get up there within 24 hours year round unless there's a, 3-foot blizzard or something. But they will work to keep the roads and the train track open, so we could get up there to fix it. The other thing is we just have to have the little cameras around monitoring what's going on, so we can look and see and verify that.
But if something breaks at 10 o'clock at night, you can't. fix
No,
it
we're
till
just out of
tomorrow morning.
business till the next morning, but we're not out of business until the next summer.
Right.
Well, my experience is that Forest Service will let you up there at night and take you up, but it'll cost you $5,000.
Well, they let Adaman Club go up there, but they have to walk.
Well, they could fix your observatory over there.
What you also need is experienced people for, like, as you mentioned before, geod's facilities or any of these other remote, large facility areas. Anyone who's had experience on how to do those, the fact that, hey, it's 10 o'clock, it broke, guess what? You're not observing for the rest of the night, but you do have the opportunity the next morning. Those kind of experiences, and there's actually a lot of those people with experiences in the Springs area.
The two things we have to be able to do is we have to be able to define exactly what we're going to do educationally and the impact it's going to have, and what we can do from a research standpoint and the impact it's going to have. So those of you who have experience with the education and the research elements, I'd be happy to hear from you and get your expertise to help build the case. They don't want to hear what we can do, they want to hear what we will do. And they're not interested in feel-good stories about what could happen if we expose 600,000 people to it. They want proof that if you do this, this is the impact it'll have. And so that's what we're trying to build our case around.
Okay, last question.
Yes, sir.
The mobile lab, sounds like you're making progress on getting that created. Who's gonna staff it? I'm just curious, like so who is gonna run the mobile lab? Who's the staff gonna be?
Well, right now, we've written a grant through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And in the event that we win that grant, it's a $500,000 grant over 3 years. And we have recruited 5 PhD scientist educators with experience, most of them at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science or similar venues, where they are engaged in creating exhibits for informal education and creating programs for groups of students or adults. And they've all signed up to, if we win this grant, to operate it and to do the evaluation to demonstrate the impact it has on the performance of students at the school. That runs for 3 years. And
Those folks will actually operate it as in they'll be driving it around and handing lessons, or they're creating the curriculum? I mean, are you gonna have to hire an education staff?
We're
Yeah, I know.
No, actually,
I'm genuinely curious.
Okay, this is the person you should hire to do the
we're
work.
working. We may need to hire some people. We're working with BSCS. You're familiar with BSCS?
Yes.
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah, BSCS is a science curriculum, education curriculum company headquarters in Colorado Springs that does national, international science curriculum, and they're part of the team. We're going to draw from existing resources. NOAA and NASA have tremendous educational resources. We don't think we have to create a whole lot of curriculum. What we have to do is pull from all the resources available to create a program that we can take to a school that meets Colorado science standards and gets us into the schools. But we've got letters of commitment from the schools that we're proposing in this grant that they will support us in participating in the program and making the school available and getting the kids in there and doing the pre-test and the post-test. and doing the preparation for the kids before we arrive so that they're ready and they know the vocabulary and they know what they're going to experience. And because when we get there, we want them to do hands-on. We want them to do hands-on observation with a telescope or that sort of thing.
Leo, give him your resume and the story.
All right, so thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
For the presentation.
We have naming rights available, so if you'd like to pay for any of these, we're happy to do that.
And Bob, it's also a tradition, at least it's my tradition, to present our speakers with a mug that has the CSAS logo on one side and the Rocky Mountain Star on the other. So we'd like to present that to you as a token gift for our
Already done.
Yeah, we're ahead of you on that one.
All right, so we have just a few minutes left. I wanted to make one announcement and about an upcoming meeting, and then I also wanted to ask George if he could talk for just a few minutes on Twitter. So the announcement is the first planning meeting for the 2017 solar eclipse. I have reserved the meeting room at the Rock Rimmon Library on Wednesday, the 2nd of March at 5:30. Just had to pick sometime. And so anyone interested in attending that meeting to start the planning for that eclipse, we'll also have a couple representatives from the Pueblo group, the Southern Colorado Astronomical Society. They've done some planning. They're interested in kind of maybe coordinating. We also have some, at least one individual, and I expect more from our sister organization in Adelaide, Australia, that are interested in traveling to the U.S. and joining up with us for the eclipse. So now's the time to start planning. And so it's in the calendar on the CSAS website. But for those of you taking notes, Wednesday, March 2nd, 5:30, Rock Rimmon Library. Yes, Bob.
And this is for not planning local events, it's for planning getting to the line.
This is the planning for the trip up to Wyoming and heading toward Casper or heading east into Nebraska, as the case may be, for the 2017 solar eclipse. So,
thank you.
All right. Okay. Yeah. No, not here locally, but rather travel to the eclipse.
Is up there, not here.
So please, those that are interested in helping support this, look forward to seeing you there. So George, if you could come up and just spend the last 2 minutes, talking about Twitter.
Got it. Jason, can you pull it up real quick?
Working on it.
Okay, the Twitter thing, just out of curiosity, did anybody hear about this meeting tonight on Twitter or Facebook, or did everybody just know? Facebook. Facebook, okay, great. One, fantastic. Okay, that's a start, yeah, exactly. All right, so if you're not familiar with Twitter, it's a social media website. It's short messages, 140 characters, including spaces, letters, numbers, whatever. And what's great about it is you can reach out to people you would otherwise have any chance of finding. Again, in just a week or so, we've got 400 followers, 399 if you sign up tonight, we'll be number 400. I've talked to astronomers around the world. I've talked to the Perth Observatory in Australia, not Adelaide, but Perth, who is interested in joining us here and giving us a grand tour, if possible, of their facilities. It's a really great way to outreach, and it's easy. If Jason can pull it up.
Am I doing this right? Like,
type in twitter.com to start.
oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's really easy. Twitter 101. You're gonna click sign up if you want to do this. What's it gonna ask you? It's gonna ask you to create a name, a username, a password. It's gonna ask you a little bit about yourself, blah, blah, blah. It takes literally a minute, 2 minutes. Okay, it doesn't take much at all. Okay. Can you go ahead and try to log in, see if you want to log in.
Okay.
With what I gave you.
Okay.
So we're going to log into the CS Astro site here real quick. Capital letters.
Oh.
Exactly, Sean. Okay, this is available on all platforms. You can use it on your phone, on PCs, you name it, whatever you got it, you can get access to it.
It's really cruel to have the password be Jason can't type. I just think that would
be awesome.
I just want to know where the keys are for those little dots.
That was almost almost like.
Okay, so this is what we got right now. We're following 958 people accounts, different things around the world. We've got 258 people following us. Okay, if you click on, Jason, if you click on tweets.
No problem. Nice picture, by the way, up there.
Yep, that's awesome.
Oh,
Oh, even better.
Scroll down. You see, it'll tell you, this will be you, obviously. You put a little bit of blurb about yourself, location, whatever you want here. You put a picture across the top. Over here, obviously, here's Bob talking just a few minutes ago. You can do live. You can follow other people. For instance, let's do a real search. Do RMSS up here. Do RCKY. RCK. First one. Here we go. There you go. Click that. So I chose to follow Rocky Mountain Star Stare among some other people, so you can say, hey, I want to see what these guys are all about. Exactly. So we've got the same thing. You're going to see what they've got going on. And the cool thing is you can see who they're following. Okay, so what I did is the first one I went out to was the International Dark Sky Association and see who they were following and who was following them. And with that, I got astronomy clubs around the world. I got observatories. I got astronomers. I got scientists. And it didn't take very long before we're following a bunch of folks and they're following us. Okay, right here, opportunity to you. Ron, right there, that's his website. Yeah, I saw him on here. I saw that he had retweeted us a few times. And so I reached out to him. I saw he was local Colorado and said, hey, would you be interested in interviewing some of our officers? He said, hey, I'm a member of the club. Well, that works. Okay, so now we're going to work on that. So it's that kind of thing. You can reach out to people, see what's going on. They can see you. It's social media. It's networking. Word spreads. And over time, I'm hoping that we get a bunch more followers, and what it should turn into, hopefully, is a little bit of business for the club and some RMSS. That's the end goal here. The end goal is awareness and getting the word out. It's an outreach kind of thing. And, somebody might see it on here and say, hey, that sounds like fun. And hopefully bring out the kids or whatever. So if you're interested in it, it's just twitter.com. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. It's really simple. That's about the length of what you can write. You can throw a picture in there. You can throw links, whatever you want. But it's nice. It's a quick and easy way to get a hold of people you wouldn't otherwise even think about getting a hold of. You want to write to Stephen King, he's on here. Bill Nye's on here. Everybody's on here.
And they answer.
Phil Plate's on here. And they will answer. You'd be surprised how quick. I've gotten answers in 30 seconds. People monitor it all the time. So it's quick and easy. And it's fun. So there you go. If you're interested in it, you sign up tonight, you'll probably be number 400.
All right. Thank you, George. Appreciate that. Okay, we're at the end of our time.
Thank you, George.
Applause. We're at the end of our time, so I'm going to adjourn tonight's meeting. It would be nice if a few could help put the chairs back and rearrange the tables. And also, I'd like to introduce you to our new CSAS business cards. I've got a box over here. If you would like to, Eric's showing that as well. If you'd like to, just come over and just take a few with you, you're welcome to. These were developed by Vicki Kitzman and myself. Jason Furman is the photographer for the picture, and this was a donation by a member, me. So no cost for the club for these cards. So I invite you to take a few, leave, and just make sure there's enough to go around here.
All the emails go to me.
And all the email goes to hell. So that's hold it. Got to make this official. Wait, it was on the map. I'm sure it's
It's a forest brick building with the toilet and whatever system it takes to deal with the